yeah, you just move around the board. When after the 10 rounds is finished, like they just like count all the like how many mini games does this person won. Like if they won the most, they get like a star at the end. So the person with the most stars, like like Mario 64 maybe.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
the one with the most stars wins
In the game. And whilst you're playing this game, Mario Party, or maybe other games as well, are you paying much attention to the musical theme behind it? Or do you even have like a favorite game song that you're like, oh, this is a good beat for a game?
Oof. That's a hard one actually, because like I listened to the background music a lot when I was a kid, but now it's kind of just I don't know. I feel like my concentration is more on the game now as like an adult. I don't know. It's like I don't know if it's just me like doing music all the time that's like kind of blocks it out automatically because I'm like in it all the time. I don't know, like some tracks they like pop out to me, like the water levels often like have these like really ambient soft tracks, which I love. But I couldn't like name a specific one.
Yeah. There was like because of those videos that were going around for a little while about I don't know if you've seen it, but it was like some guy being like, yeah, can you just make like a really just an easygoing soundtrack for GoldenEye 007 on the old Nintendo 64 game? Like, and the guy's like, yeah, no worries. He's like, what about this? And like he's playing this background track, and he's like, it's a banger sort of thing. I'm like, actually, as like hearing it again, I'm like, that is a banger. Like this Nintendo 64 GoldenEye 007 just soundtrack in the background music is like, ooh, fire sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, Doom is like the new Doom. Yeah. They have crazy music. Like there's a metalcore metal guy who produced all the tracks called Mike Gordon, if I'm not remembering incorrectly, but those tracks, like you're in it. Like when there's a fight, you can hear these heavy ass guitars just going crazy. Like the whole soundtrack is mad. So crazy production on it.
Because I remember Doom was one of like the first, to me at least, it was like one of the first viral computer games. Like then I just remember before I even like had a computer, my cousin had one and was playing the Doom game, and I was like, this is the coolest looking thing ever. There's like super pixelated walk around first pointer shooter game with these like kind of zombie things like coming towards you, and I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah. Do you remember like the Quake and like Unreal Tournament?
The Quake, was that the one you're jumping through space a little bit, or like you've got like a bit of anti-gravity, or am I thinking of a different one?
I can't remember that, but it was like the kind of like Doom, like this shooter game. You like go up with your friends, like you could have like local area network, like LAN party kind of game, like very popular. Like my dad told me him and his friends used to play it.
No way.
Yeah, set up their computers, like just like being like in teams.
How old's your dad?
He's born in 1967, so like that was in the early 90s, I think.
So he was still, like he was down with the kids at that point then, like to be playing like games, whatever.
He's always been like a computer nerd, like loved games. Not too much now, but he still occasionally will play a game. But yeah, no, I think that was like a part. The Doom game and Quake and Unreal Tournament, that was like kind of similar, like this arena. Quake and Unreal Tournament, I think, is more arena player versus player, while Doom is like computer versus player.
Yeah.
But it's like the kind of the same shooter.
So
yeah, just
that's an interesting. As you're saying that, I'm like, you can really see the change, I guess, in computer games, certainly in graphics at least, from back whenever Doom originally came out to, I guess, whatever the new Doom is. I'm sure that's a significant change that you can see within the world of gaming. Although you could probably argue that sometimes even the older games, the storylines were still equally good, or at least were really interesting in the way that they did stories.
Yeah.
Do you find that there has been much of a change? Like, do you have a conception of a much of a change in music across that same time period when looking at gaming versus music? You know, do you have a similar appreciation for that, or what are your thoughts on that?
What do you mean, like?
Has music changed a whole lot, you know, when, as I said, Doom's come out, and whatever music's going on around at the same time, you know, the same time period now up to modern day, would we be able to notice this huge shift in music since then as you would in gaming, or do you think not so much?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. You would definitely hear the change. And also you could see similarities being brought back, especially like they do in games too. You know, like they redid Doom. And like in music, like they always go back to like, now it's the last 5 years, I would say. People want to sound vintage. Like there are like plugins, like the programs in the music program that you use to like put effects and stuff. There are plugins that simulate like cassettes and like old tape machines and stuff like this. And that's like been the vibe the last 5 years. And also like pop music, they always like go back 20, 30 years, something. Like all the Dua Lipa songs, like 80s is like the theme. Like, yeah, it's gone over now more to 90s, but the last 10, no, not 10 maybe, but 5 years at least. If you listen to the radio, you will hear like all these like drum machine snares, like old 808s, like, yeah.
I was going to say, now that how long have you been producing music for now, or classify yourself as a producer?
Since 2017, I'd say.
2017, so, you know, we're 2024 now, so give or take 7 years.
Yeah.
If I just did that math, I guess. So something about the 7 year period. Now, do you have a good, I guess, like, as you said, like you can sort of hear almost historical sounds. You sort of know where samples are coming from. And that was going to be one of my sort of questions in general, actually, was, you know, like as you're listening to music, like what is your experience of listening to music? Are you deconstructing music all the time? Are you like trying to place where instruments come from? Are you trying to be taking like, oh, that would be a great sample? Or are you still largely just don't think about it too much, mostly enjoy? Like, what's your experience of music now that you've been a producer for so long?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. Like, because it goes up and down with how much I can simply enjoy music. Because I have periods of time where, like now I've been mixing an album, and when you're in like mix mode, you're kind of like just focused on how everything sounds. Like not like what sound it is, but how it's like presented. So like, is there a lot of high end frequencies or low end or like mids and stuff like that? And that, when I'm in that period of time, it's kind of hard to like just listen to a song and like, yeah, this is a nice vibe. It's like, well, that kick is like a little bit too high, and this snare should be lowered like 2 dB, and stuff like this just like pops up in my head, and I'm like, nah, I should probably just enjoy the music. It's already been released. Like, come on, you can't do anything about this. So, but yeah, so it's very depending on where I'm at in my like music making, but yeah, I listen when I just listen to the radio and listen to like musicians on the street. Like I often just like listen for, like, if I can recognize it's real somewhere, like if it comes from a real place, I kind of like instantly enjoy it. Like it doesn't have to matter like the genre or anything, doesn't matter. It's just, I love it if I can see that it's real in some way. Like that's why I have a hard time for pop music. It's like 10 songwriters that trying to make a banger that's gonna sell. Not really my thing. Like I respect it, but it's some songs are great. Like I still listen to pop, but it's not really my cup of tea. Like I wouldn't want to do that.
So for you, I guess, given that pop maybe, let's just say your least favorite for, I guess, what it's trying to present, or
Yeah.
Maybe because it's not necessarily for someone, or maybe not as authentic as you're sort of saying. It's more for the attempt to sell than it is for the attempt to give out good music.
Yeah.
What would be, or who might be your music for in your world? Do you sort of have someone that you're making music for in your own mind? Or I guess, how do you sort of approach trying to remain authentic?
Yeah. It's been like starting up as a producer, it was kind of hard to fully do my own stuff because first of all, you don't really know what your own stuff is, like your own sound when you're just starting out. And you see all these other producers like from Sweden also like coming up and like doing these trap beats, and you also want to do trap beats, and like but then you just recognize that, well, I'm just trying to like sound like someone else. And I think the past 3 years, I would say like the past 3 years I've found my sound as a producer, and it took so long. It was 4 years of just making shit beats. Like occasionally one of them would like stick out, and I'm like, yeah, I'm proud of this one, but then look at the hard drive and be like, yeah, this is 1 terabyte of shit. Just like, no.
But at the time, did you feel even at the time, oh, this is just shit? Or because I mean, you know, that would be a hard thing if you're being creative, and I think we briefly spoke about before, there's like anything, a sense of imposter syndrome of, am I really a producer? Like, am I really, like, is this what I'm actually going to do? And if you feel like you're constantly putting out shit, like, how do you sort of keep the inspiration to be like, no, like, I'm going to keep going?
Yeah.
You know,
that's I forgot to get to the authentic part. But yeah, to answer the question. But yeah, no, I'd say, like, I don't know. It's in the moment of making a beat, like you're making a song, I think I definitely enjoy it, even if I afterwards feel like it's shit, like the instantly afterwards. But like the moment of making it is always like enjoyable. So I just like, I think as I said, for the past 3 years, I've felt like myself in my music for real. And I think that's just because, I don't know, I just realized that like no one does me better than me. I think I saw like someone talk about Quentin Tarantino, which like had a quote. I can't quote the exact one, but he basically said that there was someone who asked him, like, he was making this first big movie, and he was in this room with all these like huge directors.
Reservoir
made,
Dogs.
Like, yeah. And someone like asked him, like, aren't you like scared to take place here? Like, you're a newbie, like all these like veterans. And he was just like no one here does me better than me. So like my mind is different from all of these guys, so I mean they got nothing on me, kind of like, basically that's what he said. And I was like, damn, that's so true. Like, no one does Small Village. Like, no one has my brain. Like, no one listens to all of the songs I listen to. No one has like my inspirations. Obviously people can have it like similar interests or inspirations, and yeah, you can hear that I'm inspired by some people, and it's like no one's gonna be 100% original, of course. But yeah, it's just
not unless
like,
you lived in like a vacuum or something. It's impossible not to be inspired or stand on the shoulder of giants.
There are just a set of chords. Like we can't like invent new chords. That's just how it is. So, but yeah, I don't know.
Can you not invent? Is there no? Like, this is something, again, complete ignorance on my side here.
No worries.
Because when you say, you know, you can't invent new chords, how does that work? How is there no longer a? Because, you know, like in the alphabet, there's a limited number of letters, but you can invent an unlimited number of words. So is it something akin to that, or like? Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe you could come up. I don't know. Like with the chords and stuff. The thing is, like in the Western music, we have like 12 notes, and you like make all the chords from these 12 notes, and there are just a number of combinations, and some are very similar, some have the same name as each other, like, but the notes are the same, but they sound different because like one note is in the bass and the other is in the top, and then the other chord that's like the same notes, that's like the other way around. So like the top note is up in the bass, and yeah, it's kind of theory, boring stuff. I don't really,
Okay.
I don't really like
So within all,
think too much about it. But I like coming up with a new chord. Like for me, I play the guitar. I just put my fingers how it sounds. Like if it sounds good, it's good. I don't really know what chord it is, but mostly like, yeah, I'd say like all chords have been used. Like, and the chords especially, combination of notes, 3 or 2 or more. That's not like copyright. Like you can't copyright like a chord change because they're just
otherwise
this set of chords. Like you can't, like you like imagine with
a chord change.
John Lennon, like no one can play like the same chords as Imagine. Like
yeah,
that would be like so many Beatles songs and like other songs, same chords, just different vibes, different melodies on top, different textures underneath. Yeah, that sort of thing.
Because that would be an interesting part of the creative process when you're creating music, right? Is you're obviously building a chord structure, like melodies and everything else around it. And so, like, as you're doing that, I imagine there's sort of the experience of it's both feels like you're generating something new, but you're probably also partly aware that it's somehow borrowed a little bit from somewhere. And, you know, you hear it all the time when you listen to a song and then you go, oh, this reminds me of that song.
Yeah.
Because they've obviously got a very similar structure or sound or something. Does that get in the way for you at all of like the creative process? Do you ever go like, oh, fuck, I don't want it to sound like, shit, you know, I don't want to steal that song.
Yeah, no, it definitely has, like so many times. In the beginning also, I think that was what helped me 3 years back. I kind of just like let go of the like having to be original thought in my head, because if you think that you have to have like a new melody that's no one's ever done, and like all these thoughts, they definitely like they stop you from being creative for sure. Like when you just don't think about it, like afterwards, you can have like loads of fun making a song. You don't think about this, like you're just having fun, and then you make like you listen back to it and you're like, wait, I kind of just redid this song that I like. Like, fuck. Okay, so we need to change this and this and this. And then it's going to be like us, like our own song. But this was kind of too similar. So, but it doesn't happen that often. But I just think there's so much like music released every day. I think I heard the number like 10,000 songs a day, something like that. So like, how are you supposed to think about everyone else's melodies while you're making your own, not to sound, it's just, it would be too much.
Do you ever think people specifically try to mimic or just, you know, do you think people do go like, I really like this song, let's basically take it and sort of create our own version? Or do you think that's quite rare, I guess, as people?
No, that's basically pop music.
Right.
So that's kind of why I don't like it. Because I've been in situations with like pop songwriters, and they're very like structure based. It's kind of like the chorus has to come in after 40 seconds at least. Like that's like the absolute maximum kind of. And yeah, I don't know. Sorry, what was the question?
It was just around whether or not people intentionally try and
sorry.
I don't know if you call it steal, but borrow, or at least sort of leverage songs specifically. They go like, I really like this sound and I'd like to make a song very similar to this.
No, that definitely happens. Like, especially the major labels, they do that all the time. I've heard stories of, I can't come up with a name. I don't want to out anyone either, but I've heard stories of like smaller artists having like songs that they've made, and there's like a huge song getting released a couple months after, and it's like basically their song, but they just like the record label knows that this small artist won't be able to fight them in a court. So they just like, yeah, well, we'll grab this. We like this song. We'll just rewrite this for our artist. And they like make up new words, but the melodies are the same. Like they could even like, I've heard of producers that have put up like samples or beats on like TikTok, and like weeks after, some big artist just released their like a song with their beat, and they have no idea about it. And they could be like a huge artist.
Do you think in that case again that is it a mixture of people that are intentionally stealing? Is it the consequence of so much music being put out that there are these instances where that song, both of them would come up independently, but seemingly released at the same time? Because that's the thing. How do you prove who took what and who stole this and who borrowed? You know,
that's the hardest part, I think. And I think more often than not, it's not on purpose. But there are definitely cases where it's like, yeah, this is a great song. We're gonna steal this. No one's gonna be like, no one's gonna care. So, but
what would you do if you heard one of your own beats taken by someone somewhere? I guess what would be your response to something like that?
That's like the nightmare scenario. Yeah, I intentionally haven't like put up my beats anywhere or samples that I make, because of this reason, kind of. Feel kind of silly about it also, like being so scared of someone taking it. But I don't know, it's like, that's like the worst thing that could happen, to be honest. Like, especially for me, I really enjoy working with an artist in the way that I know that we both like what we're doing. Like, I want to work with an artist, like create something together. I don't just want to have Drake rap on my beats. Like, I mean, that would be sick, obviously, but that's not the goal here. Like, I want to...
Paycheck would be pretty sick.
That would be... Yeah, I wouldn't say no to that. But, you know, I want to create music with people for us to feel something. Like, I don't really care about anyone else. Like Rick Rubin said, like, the audience comes last. I don't really believe that's always the case. But I definitely feel that with my music. I just make it for myself. I just make it for the artist I'm with. I want it to be great for us. So if someone steals my sample or beat and just makes a song, like, maybe it's a shit song. Maybe I hate it. Like, maybe the worst part isn't even that they get the money. Maybe I just hate the song. Like, that would be the worst part. Like, imagine some super bad rapper just like... They just butchering your beat, like, fuck. Like, that's just, yeah, you don't want that on your portfolio, like your CV.
Well, at least within the hip hop realm, at least that would start some beef, maybe. So
yeah, maybe
that's usually healthy between a couple of different artists. A little bit of beef here and there within hip hop.
Yeah.
How do you choose? So you were saying before, and there's all these questions that keep stacking up, and I'm like, oh, maybe we'll get to, but you sort of mentioned that you like working with an artist, that you guys have like a similar vibe, I guess, or just clearly like working together, and that part of the process might be even more enjoyable than the end result necessarily. Yep. So for sure. How do you end up choosing, or how does it come about when you start working with someone? Is it sort of very much like serendipitous, where you both happen to meet up in the studio at the same time, or like at a bar, or do you sort of message someone online going like, oh, I really liked your tune, would love to make some music? Like, for you, is there a bit of a pattern repeat of how you typically work with someone, or is it quite random? And
yeah, I think it's very random, but this last couple of years I've been in music school in Malmö, like a hip-hop based music school, but it's like people that do all kinds of music. So these last couple of years, it's been like such a luxury, because I have 10 other artists in my class that they're all lovely people just from the start, but they're also great musicians and artists. So from the last couple of years, it's just been like natural talking, like realizing that we have so much in common, like some sorts of music we want to make, and most people in my class is an artist as well. And they need me as a producer, and I need them. So that's been like a very natural kind of way to get in the studio. But before that, I would just like send emails.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe work with some friends that I knew, because it's kind of hard like reaching out to bigger artists because they have so many other
People,
producers
yeah.
sending them stuff. So I would just like, I will go on Discord, like like the server app. Like, do you know Discord?
Yeah, no, Discord.
Yeah. So I would go there, like find up servers with, especially during the pandemic, like there were so many big producers in the US that started their own Discord servers. And I've actually like collaborated. I found a guy in Argentina that liked my music, and now me and him are collaborating with a guy in the US that's like been working with bigger artists. And
Very cool.
so it can be very random also, like internet. I'm a huge like gamer and internet like nerd, so that can definitely happen.
Hence the familiarity with Discord as well. So like if if there are other young producers out there that are sort of looking to try and get in contact with people, is that sort of the things that you'd recommend doing? Because I'm guessing when you send out emails, there's a lot of no responses, or maybe even a nice polite no or whatever. So if you were to rewind and try and maximize your ability to work with other people, but maybe you're not at a school, so you don't have access to people around you. Are there anything else that you recommend, or is it really just get into the Discord communities?
Yeah, it depends on the type of person you are, I think. Because for me, I was like kind of, I was very like harsh on myself. Like I didn't think my beats were good enough. I kind of like, my self-esteem was kind of low before school. So I didn't really have any techniques to like reach out to people, which was like, it was hard. Like it was a hard period for sure. But I think just like make your own music, like trust that your thoughts, like your music is good enough, because when you finally like find someone that you can work with, if you like been working on your shit and they like it, it's just gonna be the best. Because if you're like trying to reach out to artists that maybe are popular for the moment, and like you might get so many no's that you end up giving up.
Sad.
Just yeah. But I'd say like try anything. Like Discord, like this guy from Argentina, Luca, like him and me have been working on like different songs now, and like we never know what's gonna happen with it. He's still like, we just make it for us, and of course we want to get it out, but just try out anything. Like Discord servers are great for someone who's like an introvert.
How does the process differ when you're working remotely with an artist versus when you get to work with them in the studio? Because I imagine it's of an order slower and possibly a lot more difficult because of the back and forth. But yeah, what's your experience, I guess, of the difference between working in studio versus working remotely?
Yeah, I'd say that. I mean, it's a lot more fun being together in the studio. Like you can get a vibe in there that's like gonna create a song just from the feeling of being there. But if you're working remotely, I'm so used to it now also. So the difference is that you sit by yourself, and it's kind of easy to go into your own mind a little bit too much. Like you're kind of overthinking shit, and then you have no one that's like, oh, that's sick. Like me as a producer, I usually start with something, and if I'm by myself, I have a full vision of it, and I know that it's like I need to sit for a while to make it sound good. But I've had experiences in the studio where it's like I'm just starting something, and the artist I'm working on with, they're like, oh, I got a verse, like let me record. And I'm like, I haven't even started. But you already love this. So like, yeah, okay, well, go ahead. Like I always try to make it as comfortable as possible for the artist. Like we're both making music for us, but me as a producer, I want to bring the artist's vision forward. Like I don't I don't care that it has to be like my sound or it has to be my name on it or anything, but I just want the artist to feel very comfortable with their music. So that's much easier when you're in the studio, because they can be like, I love this, I hate this, remove that, add that, like, so that's the biggest, like, that's the biggest difference. You can overthink too much when you're by yourself, I think.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine that. This is shit. Oh god.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna send it off, then they're gonna hate it.
Yeah.
Rather than having the instant feedback, like, nah, that's sick, or actually maybe change that. Yeah, it would. The whole no communication means you get to like run through your own head, like, fuck, I suck.
Exactly. And in that same moment that you're by yourself and saying I suck, like if you were in the studio, they would probably be like, let me put a verse on this. Like,
yeah.
I love this. So yeah.
So with the, like when you guys are in studio, and I guess a lot of the producer artist relationships would differ, of course, but and for you it sounds like it's quite like a collaboration, and specifically for you at least, you're very much willing to give up your, you know, exactly what you're after in order to make sure that you're sort of producing the music that makes the most sense for the artist.
Yeah.
Do you find or hear about that relationship between producer and artist? Is it typically like that sort of, you know, both of you guys are just working in collaboration? Is usually the artist the sort of director, I guess, of the piece, or does it change with the producer sometimes is more the director? I guess, what's that relationship like?
Very, very different. For me, it's also very different depending on who I'm working with. If I'm working with Hakeem, for example, Hakeem Martin, like close friend, collaborator, him and I, like he's also a producer as well. Like he has like these visions of how he wants it to sound, and like he can be as much of a director as I in the studio, but also we trust each other so much, so that we can just like let each other go off for a bit, and it'll just be great. And then other artists I can work with, they kind of want someone to like not coach, but like be like take the leader role. So I will, instead of me just like trying to see their vision, like it's kind of hard as well. Like it's not like I'm not making my stuff. I obviously just make what I love, and like that's what's the collaboration. But more like some artists just they need someone sometimes to like, you have to make this line sound like this instead, like this a little bit too emotional, or you need even more emotion here, or like stuff like that. Differs a lot. And hip hop, like modern hip hop, I think it's very like 50-50 almost, because in hip hop especially, like producers have a big role, and you know, like producer tags, like there's a little bit like, it's like Kenny Beats has like, whoa Kenny, like before the beat drops, it's like a little tag that the producer has.
Yeah.
Some hip hop producers are so big that an artist, if they just hear the tag, they will love the beat. So like that in that case, like that, like the producer has like all the power, because they just have a name for them. And so in that case, they will be probably just like rapping over this beat that's already finished, and they might not even like work on the song structure together. They just like have a beat from a fire producer and just make a song. So it differs very much.
For you, do you have your own, or have you played around having your own watermark, musical watermark, or like that little tag, as you're saying?
Yeah. I actually have a tag.
Okay.
Most people don't know it. Like the people in my class don't even know it, which is kind of the point. I love that, because I just have a little sound in the. It doesn't necessarily have to be the beginning of the song every time, but mostly it is. It's like a little, I don't know, it's like a sound effect I made for a beat back in 2017. It's like a little, like a vocal chop that's like, it's like just a random sound. And I just like edited a bit and like made some effects on it. And I had a friend who was like, damn, this should be your tag, bro. Like this sounds sick over any beat. Like if there's a soft beat, if there's a hard ass, like this sounds great. And I was like, that's kind of true. And
Good idea.
Yeah, that's a very good idea because I've always like tags can be sick. Like whoa, Kenny Beats has a sick tag. Like DJ Mustard and yeah, I don't know. There's so many producers that have sick tags, but they can also be awful.
Yeah. Super cringe.
Yeah. Just like the typical is like just some woman just saying the producer's name. So like my worst nightmare would be like, this is a small village. It's like not my way, not the tag I want, but a lot of people have that. Yeah, so.
Well, maybe you can one day produce a song called "Cringe" and just have the cringiest watermark and the cringiest tune.
Yeah,
just for a bit of a gag. Like, yeah. This is a small village. Coming at you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your favorite producer's producer.
Just all throughout, rather than the pew 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 siren. It's just a small village.
Small village. Yeah, that'd be great.
At least that would be a very good little gag. So now that you've had about 3 years of more authentic music, at least, as you were saying beforehand, do you now ever finish a song and are not instantly embarrassed?
Wait, sorry.
Do you ever finish
the first half?
Now that you believe you're being a bit more authentic? You were saying before that whenever you finish a song, as soon as it's done, you're like instantly embarrassed, which is I think is hypertypical of both critical and creative people.
Yeah.
Because it's very hard to look back in the past and not go, I could have done this way better.
Yeah.
It's like the natural, which is a good thing because there's always progress that can be made. We can always be better. We can always improve. But also, there's cons to it, of course, as well. So I guess now that you believe you've been doing more authentic music for yourself for the past 3 years, do you ever finish a song and then think, I'm not embarrassed by that? Or do you still feel, even now that you're doing what you love and the style of music that you like, do you still have that same I'm embarrassed by that?
Yeah, no, I actually like the last couple of years being with all these artists in my class, like we've brought out the best in each other, to be honest, and they've given me so much confidence and like they've like they've like reassured me through like just like how much they love my music. And like I don't know, from being in this group of people, I've just like my self-confidence in music, it's just grown so much that I don't know, I kind of feel like I'm mostly happy with my songs now.
Sick.
Just because it doesn't always have to be good either. Like that's also what I realized, that if I don't feel it, I don't have to finish it. Like I could just delete it off my computer, start something new. Like I think every artist and producer's like biggest nightmare is like I will run out of ideas and melodies. But like you won't. You have bad days. Like some days I won't have anything in my head. I will try to make something, but I will recognize that it's shit and know it. Like I will like see that, yeah, I'm not happy with this, but it's okay. Like before I would be like, oh, I'm such a bad producer, like I'm shit. Just like beat myself down hard. But now it's like, yeah,
go get a real job.
Exactly. Yeah. Classic.
What are you doing?
Yeah. But now it's like, yeah, I can recognize that beat wasn't too great, but I love this song.
Do you think it's interesting that you say that? Yeah, and to me, it's like nice to hear as well that perhaps like some of the embarrassment that you feel after a project, particularly maybe in the earlier days when you're not doing exactly what you feel is more true to you, might also be a reflection of sort of that knowledge that I've produced this thing and it wasn't even the thing that I really like or the thing that I really want to do. So I can't even at least be stoked with myself for doing the thing that I really want to do.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to know, do you reckon that has anything to play with in terms of the embarrassment feature now that you're like, regardless of whether you think it's exactly great or could be better or whatever, at least you're like, yeah, but it's the thing I wanted to do. So
Yeah.
sick, like,
Yeah.
cool, happy with that at least. You also mentioned beforehand as well how when Quentin Tarantino, for instance, sort of spoke about like, oh, you know, no one can do me better than me.
Yeah.
Do you have certain areas or other like artistic or creative areas that you sort of do typically look for a bit of inspiration, whether that be sort of like more movie-based directors, whether that be something in the version of gaming or writing, or do you typically have places that you go to specifically for inspiration?
Yeah, for sure. I think when it comes to like inspiration directly from music, it's like watching videos of like other producers, and that's often kind of what sparks my like my own music's ideas, like, or in the like I rarely like see a movie that inspires a song, but I think almost for the most part, I think people kind of inspire me. I've never really thought about it too deep, but I think just like meeting people that are creating their stuff and seeing how even my friends that don't make music, like they can inspire me to make songs because like maybe they've done something, or yeah, it's just I don't know, moments in life, I guess, like memories can bring it forth. But yeah, I wouldn't say I'm very much inspired by like movies or stuff like that. No, I wouldn't say, because
So these like, for instance, if a melody or a chord or something pops up in your head, is it typically when you are like, again, either in the studio or behind your computer specifically being like, all right, you know, we're trying to create a song, or do you find in everyday life you go, oh, there's like a melody that pops into your head and you're like, that would be interesting to play with?
yeah, definitely both, but mostly I would say when I'm not in the studio.
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
I have tons of voice memos of just
Yeah.
me being like or just like singing a random melody, or like I have a drum beat in my head and like I can like describe what the beat sounds like, because sometimes I have like a full beat in my head that I've not done yet, but I kind of know the rhythms in I hear it in my head, so I kind of like beatbox the drums, kind of lay the melody with my voice, kind of like just hum a melody, and I even tell myself like this is supposed to be the guitar, this is supposed to be like something, like stuff like that. Like even like waking up sometimes I'm like, oh, that's the melody. Oh, wait. Oh, so this part of the song, like even songs I'm working on, like parts that I'm not like too happy with, or that I feel need something more, I can like think about the song and like, oh yeah, that's the one. Like this needs to be here. So then I just record it in my voice memo, go home, grab my guitar or whatever it is, and just put it in the computer, and yeah.
So that's your I guess recording of ideas is typically the voice memo, some version of so you're not speaking so much into the voice memo, it's a little bit of like you're just dropping a beat with your beatboxing, a bit of humming. Is there any current song idea thought in head that you like, the most recent voice memo, I guess, like have you had a little beatbox or hum that you'd want to share for 20 seconds for fun?
Like a voice memo on my phone?
Yeah.
Oh shit. Wait. I might have one, because there's a song called Delhi, like that I've released with a good friend and artist Flores. His name's Claudio.
Is that the one with the cool blue sort of artwork?
Yeah, exactly. And let me just find the conversation here. So
'Cause I think it's a very clever way to, certainly record things at any time, anywhere. Because I didn't really think about that. I know writers and comedians, they'll write down jokes, but if you're doing a musical idea comes to your head,
yeah,
and you don't, I guess, put it in a voice memo, the chance that you can get to the studio or get home before you lose it, I would have thought, it's probably gone.
yeah, that's the thing. Like I'm always trying to grab that little spark if I have it in front of me. I'm just trying to find the voice memo. Sorry. Wait, didn't I send it to him like on text? I think I did.
So you'll even send the voice memos over to...
Yeah, so the thing is with this one, this special one, it's funny because Claudio and I showed the main sample that you can hear in the beginning of the song. It was a sample I made with my pedal board that I have for the guitar. And I showed it to Claudio in a studio session. And he like, oh, I love this. Like, do you have any... Do you think we could work on this? And I was like, yeah, I already have the drums in my head.
Sick, yeah. Okay.
and I had them like since before making it. And he was like, okay, like, do you like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I can beatbox it for you. Like, see if you like it. And
what did it sort of sound like?
So I don't find the
I was trying to get you to do it into the mic, but
yeah,
you don't have to.
It's wait, no, I can't.
No, it's a bit of a. Honestly, I'm being a bit of a rude host as well, forcing someone into some creative act.
No worries. But I would, I really want to find the voice memo because it's very, very funny. Because you can hear Claudio in the background being like, "Ooh, like and I'm like."
Well, look, if you find it, you can always send it to me, and I can put it over the top of. We'll do a little bit of a blank space where I can chuck it in right. You'll hear it in 3, 2, 1. And we're back.
Yeah.
There you go. So now they would have heard that little bit of a beatbox.
And that beatbox is part of the song. Like the voice memo is actually part of the song.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so like the main drum loop that you hear is like a it's like kind of sounds very dark, very, you don't really know if it's like percussion or what it is. That's just my voice that I like pitched down, just warped, modulated. Like I made the drums with that.
Oh,
voice
really?
memo. Yeah.
That's sick.
So the voice memo is like the base of the drums to that song.
That's such a cool. I mean, it may be too much of an ask, but to have a voice memo album where like it's sort of generated largely from that, it's a very like cool, interesting idea. I wonder, do a lot of artists do something similar? They use voice memo. Is that like a really common thing, or something that you've just sort of more picked up?
I think it's maybe not super common, but I think it pops up more and more because the iPhone mic, especially for me, like having an iPhone, the mic is so good. Like I used to play a lot of guitar, make guitar samples, and I honestly record my acoustic guitar more with like 70% of it I record through the phone and just like airdrop over to my computer.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's
sick.
Yeah, and I like if I have a vocal.
Shout out to Apple.
Shout out to the voice memo. Like, come on, so great. Like the mic is crazy, and because it has like it picks up so much of the room as well.
So you get the ambient sort of.
Yeah. So it's like it instantly. There's like a unique kind of vibe, like texture to the recording. And lots of people don't want noise, but I kind of love noise, to be honest. I kind of love like...
So it doesn't sound super crisp and...
No, exactly.
Perfect.
Like, I remember making a sample and there was a truck like hitting their horn. And I'm like, damn, that's in key to my sample I'm making. So I like opened my window, like put the phone out, recorded the horn. And then I put it in the song, and it's like one of my favorite sounds of the song. Like,
yeah,
it's not the same we're talking about now, but it's like another sample I have on my computer. It's stuff like that. I love it. Just like random noises in your environment that just turns out to be a great percussion instrument, or even like a lead vocal melody, something like that. Like,
I'm gonna keep it. It certainly keeps it very playful. When like for most people, a beeping truck sound would be like, oh, like fucking shut up.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But to convert it and be like, oh, that's actually a banger. Like,
use your environment to your.
Because as you say, like even if maybe it was off key or something like that, maybe you could modulate, or you're like, look, this is the current environment I'm working in, so let's move it to whatever I need it to be, and then at least you can not need the perfect setup and the perfect gear and ultimate silence and a studio worth millions of dollars. Like you obviously, if you're creative and you're not too worried about some weird version of perfection in your own head, you can come up with some, as you say, cool stuff that you actually end up loving the most.
For sure. And I think the feeling of a recording is the most the most important part. Like, if you have a recording that's perfectly done, like no noise or anything, but the performance in it is off, like that's not a great take. Like, maybe it's perfect, like technically, like recorded perfectly, but there is actually, I have a song out with Norina and Hakeem Martin called Sunshine, and the whole second verse of the song is Norina rapping into the mic with the beat going out the speakers. So if you were to like solo her voice, like just like listen to her take, you can hear the beat in the background of the recording.
Oh wow.
And that's like a no. Like,
don't do that.
Yeah, like you should definitely have headphones so it's like isolated. But the thing is, when we were like discussing like the takes and like what we were to re-record and like stuff like this, I just love that take from her so much. Like, I was like, you can't re-record this. Like, we were kind of having an argument in the studio. I was like, I know you think this way, but your voice in this take, like the vibe, like the whole energy is on point for the song. So I like kind of had to convince her to keep the take. I felt so bad. Like, I was like, but she's so great. Like, she also, like, I respect her opinion. She respects mine. Like, she heard me out, and it ended up being on the song. Like, the whole take is just beat out the speakers.
That's cool. I'm sure there's been other songs that have done it. Right, but it definitely...
You don't notice it.
Well, that's the thing.
It's in the background.
It seems like a very cool way to do it. As you said, it kind of provides... It's not this like super clean vocal, but it sort of maybe is infused with more surrounds, which kind of... Yeah, it does create a bit more authenticity or something to that effect. Like, to me, it already sounds like an interesting sound that I want to go listen to.
Yeah.
Like, I want to go see now, like, can I hear the reverberations of the song playing in the background?
Yeah.
I was like...
Yeah,
I'm gonna put it on in a bit. So
right.
I'll find out if I can pick it up.
And also, like, to finish that off as well, like the whole thing with the performance is having the beat going out the speakers for an artist recording, or even for me recording, like anything. It's so much more comfortable when you're with someone else, because it's always a little bit of performance anxiety, and like you want to perform your best, you want to like get the best take. This take from Norina, she was just like freestyling. She was like, she had the lyrics written down. She was just trying out melodies. And yeah, she was so comfortable with, because she was just trying it out. Like, there was no like, this is going to be the final take. This has to be like this. She was just having fun. And that's what I think, like, you can hear that. Like, you can hear that it's just her having fun.
Which I think, again, because it just goes back to you, like, why would we try and create something perfect when that is the most real version that I can imagine, at least. So it's funny that, perfection isn't necessarily a requirement. It's, potentially something that gets in the way of these really cool, natural flowing movements.
For sure.
Certainly within art as well, of course.
Yeah.
You did mention as well, I know we're jumping around a little bit, but you sort of spoke about record companies occasionally being issues within record companies. You now live in a world of music where, Spotify, you've got Apple Music, you've got like record companies, but they, at least to a layman like myself, seem to be becoming less relevant over time with the advent of, you know, social media and such, where people can sometimes go viral and start to create these like careers really without needing this big label behind them.
Yeah.
Where do you feel that the state of music is in? Do you think it's in a good place, given that so many people can just put their music out there? Do you think there's a bit of a issue with the fact that maybe artists could struggle to get paid adequately for their time and their work? And as you mentioned, maybe there's issues with music being taken sometimes from others. How do you have a sense of that you feel music's in a good place, a bad place with all these things, or where do you sort of find yourself sitting within the debate of record companies, Spotify's, like all this sort of stuff?
Yeah. I would say I'm not too read in about all of that with the labels. Like, you hear the talks and I know some of it, but it just like gives me so much headache. I don't even want to think about it. But no, I think for musicians and music producers and artists that just want to release their music, we're in a great place. Like, you can grab a free music program, produce a song, release it the same day if you want. Like, there's no regulations in that matter, which is nice. It also makes it hard to go viral or have your song become like big or like a hit, because there are so many others that just release every day. And with the labels, I think definitely now people are trying to just not work with the labels as much. They want to be independent. They know that they can make a career. So many on like TikTok that go viral, they're completely independent. And yeah, that's a great thing, I think. Like, 'cause you get your money if you're independent. Like, the label doesn't take your 80% or whatever. And yeah, it's just great to be able to do that. And also, yeah, I don't know, I think the labels more now, because before you kind of had to have like lots of money to go into the studio and this sort of thing, but now the labels are you want them for their money, like you want them for their marketing skills, like, but you can't be sure if they're gonna promote your music, because if they sign you, like, there's so many artists that get signed by the huge labels and they get dropped as quickly because their first song didn't make enough plays, or like the album that they thought that they wanted on the label, it's like, well, now this sound has like gone out of style, so now we don't want it, and they like drop people like this.
And then I imagine that they probably take ownership of some of the music too at that point and go, well, as you said before, you want to repackage it with another artist.
Yeah, a lot of contracts is like you need to release 3 or 1 or 2 albums under our label. So like you have to like recoup that money as well from the album and the gigs and everything. So yeah, I mean, it's a dangerous game, like playing with those major labels. Yeah, I think if you can be independent, that's the way to go for sure. But it's also the hardest way to go because you don't have thousands of dollars to like put into the marketing.
Yeah,
and that is sadly why like music is not heard, because people just don't see it, because there's so much other stuff being marketed. And also people that listen to the radio, they don't really care about like going into some random small artist page. If they just have songs on the radio that they like, well, they're probably happy with that. So it's a hard fight for artists to take with the major labels, but I think it's moving in the right direction, I think.
At least now it would be interesting to see, because eventually when Small Village and Kareem
Sorry, Hakeem.
Hakeem, sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
So Small Village and Hakeem, you know, with this new album, Selfish, or is it just LP, or because it's 2 songs within there at the moment that are released?
Yeah, we have 2 singles, Know That and Selfish, and they're gonna be on our like full project, like a whole album, LP kind of vibe, and it's gonna be, I think it's 9 songs, and those are the first singles of it. Yeah.
And then when you guys put out some videos about it and it gets like 100 million views on a TikTok or an Instagram reel or something, do you think at that point, like, is 100 million views enough to make something like Small Village and Hakeem like a big thing? Or do you suspect social media is like people watch it and it's a quick, you know, 10 seconds of fame and then it dies off and you don't hold on to fans? Do you have other artists that are using social media and really accruing big followings and it's converting into sales of records or tickets and things? Do you have people doing that, or a sense of whether social media and trying that avenue is the way to go for you guys as an example?
That's tough because we recognize that TikTok especially is like such a big part of promoting your music nowadays, because a lot of people listen to music through TikTok and like just these like small hooks that people love and they find music through there. But I think with mine and Hakeem's album, I strongly believe that if we were to get like 100 million views, like Hakeem is such a smart guy. Like his lyrics are so clever. They're so good. Like some of the, I don't know, he's just so good with words and like he can tell a story. And because he's so genuine in what he does, I think those 100 million would lead to more. Like it wouldn't be the 10-second fame thing.
Yeah,
it would be, people would hear it, people would connect to it. It wouldn't just be a banger. Like there's so much more to his lyrics, and we really trying to make like a full album with a concept and not just have random words being put together so people can dance.
Yeah. Well, when the full album's done and eventually released into vinyl as records, I'll be purchasing one, but I expect a signature from yourself.
Definitely.
So with it, do you have an ultimate goal of, you know, you've got this project going on with someone that you clearly respect and think is incredible at what they do and definitely trying to push themselves out into the world as well. Do you have a bit of a goal of any sense outside of maybe even just finishing the project? Do producers like yourself want to go on tour? Do you guys just want to simply sit in the studio and pump out music? Do you want to is there some certain goal that producer or at least yourself wants to achieve with something like this project?
Ooh. Yeah, that's a good question, because I think a lot of producers nowadays are being more treated like artists, and they kind of like do their own DJ gigs. And yeah, for me, I don't think I would ever like DJ my own songs or go on tour by myself. I played the guitar since I was a kid, and I played live a lot with bands, so I love that. But I don't think for me, I just want to make music that resonates with people. And like the Untitled Soul Project, the name of mine and Hakeem's project, that's like just getting it out there so people can relate to what we're feeling is the most important, I think.
Why, now that we're on the name of the Untitled Soul Project,
yeah.
How did that name come about? Is there a bit of a story behind that one at all?
Yeah. So, like, Hakeem says in one of the songs, like, we're the Untitled Souls. And, like, the Untitled Soul Project comes from... We switched the name from the Revenge Project, it was first called. And we didn't want the negative energy of revenge being like the prominent thing of the album. So we like one day we switching it to Untitled Soul Project, because first of all, it's like we're putting like the whole of ourselves in this. Like both me and Hakeem, we're very true to ourselves in this album, and also we have very like similar but also very different experiences here in Sweden with being put like people putting titles on you, and yeah, like me being from the north of Sweden, also have like a little bit of a country accent. Like being, for example, in Stockholm, people think you're stupid just for having an accent. Like people treat you differently. It's kind of ridiculous, but yeah.
I think that's the same. Like that would be the same in America. It's the same in Australia.
Yeah.
It's having like a slightly more country accent. There is
Everyone's
this
just
tiny
like,
little like idiot or whatever.
Yeah. They just assume that you're stupid and like you're dumb. Like, yeah, no, it's very, very strange. No, it's
So just my brother walking in, not cooking me dinner this time, just coming back from a walk.
No, so for me that's been like a thing throughout, and also being from the north, moving to Stockholm, when you come back, it's kind of like you're not as much of a northern person anymore. It's like they call you like Stockholmare, like they you don't seem to have a place anywhere that's like your place, because now that you come back home, they also put a title on you. And like from Hakeem's point of view, like growing up as a black man in Sweden, like it's so like he would have to talk about this because I can't speak for him, but his perspective on that's like he's been put in so many titles, like yeah, not being Swedish enough, and like yeah, all this kind of stuff.
It's interesting you put it that way, because my initial thought of it was that it's sort of like a search for the authentic self, that it's not like you, it's sort of like trying to figure out like who are we, like when am I, what's going on. But in some ways what I'm hearing is that it may be more of a name that is sort of like freeing you from the past, where you feel like you've tried to be boxed in, or at least that others maybe have tried to attempt to name you to some degree.
Yeah. Yeah, no, talked to Hakeem about this as well. Like he like just this is like his words also, like because I talked to him about this also, like because I want to get his point across. And like what he's saying is like the Untitled Soul Project stands for not being defined by the titles thrown at us from society, and that the titles labels don't apply to us unless we choose to. And like just feeling titleless, not fitting in, this sort of thing is the main subject of the songs. And like, for example, Selfish, the single we released, he talks about being a people pleaser. Like both of us are people pleasers. And when you do something for yourself, people that are used to you doing stuff for them, they're like, oh, you're selfish. You're like, why you're not coming along? Like, oh, you're just being selfish. Like, you're being stupid. And that's like the hook of the song. Like, they call me stupid, call me dummy, call me selfish. And he's like talking about like being selfish in the most positive way, like taking care of yourself, like putting yourself first, like stuff like this.
It's a very cool name, the Untitled Soul Project.
Oh, thank you.
I think it's one that, yeah, it certainly elicits some thoughts and questions, and I think like a lot of art, when it sort of does make you go like, what does that mean to me? I think is like always a really cool, it means I think you hit upon something that probably makes sense. It's just like, yeah, that's something that like, oh, I want to know what Untitled Soul. It's like, oh yeah, it's like it's good,
right?
I really like it. Yeah.
And this like the perspective of this as well, like it's nothing you've heard from Sweden before. That I don't think so, at least. Like the perspective of that Hakeem's just put through in his lyrics, and yeah. Also, I go fully into the production, like of course, but he's like the lyricist. Like he can describe the meaning of everything. I'm just like pushing the meaning sound wise to the point where it's like, now it sounds like what we're actually saying.
The emotional experience,
Yeah.
sort of crafting around it.
Yeah.
We could probably go on forever as well, to be honest.
Probably.
So I think we'll slowly get towards, I guess, the end, as I've already kept you around for a bit over an hour. But there's a couple questions I think to finish off with that I find interesting. Hence why I ask the questions to begin with. One of them that I like is sort of we've sort of briefly touched on sort of, I guess, your experience of changing from early producer, a little bit of imposter syndrome, 4 years of kind of messing around in the arena in order to find more of your authentic sound and be comfortable to just do what it is you'd like to do. Yep. So I like to always sort of play a bit of a 5 years ago, if you were to give yourself some advice, what would that be? And then there will be a follow-up question after. But just to begin with, for a producer, or even if it's more just about yourself, doesn't necessarily have to be about producing, like that sort of younger version of yourself, is there anything specifically you'd go back and give that advice on?
Oh, shit. So 2019 Elias. Yeah, I mean, just chill out, dog. Like, come on. For real. Like, I think 2019, I was sitting in like on top of a garage, like an apartment I lived in. Like, I was just making beats for myself, being way too hard on myself. And I would just say, like, try to just be calm, like make your music. Don't give a shit about what everyone thinks. Just like, don't stress too much about it. I don't know. Just chill out, please. Like, I remember myself from this period of time. I'm like, nah, like your brain was on. Oh, it was so, like, I don't know. It was just too much. I couldn't, like, it was just too many thoughts, like too many negative, like, I don't know. It's just your brain can be very rude to yourself. Just chill out.
Chill out. I think that's very fair. And the second half of this thought experiment is, now imagine that yourself 5 years from now is coming back to give you advice right now.
Oh,
what do you think the older version of yourself would try and give you an advice right now as it sits?
Oh, that is one question. I mean, probably the same thing. Yeah. To be honest, I get very, even though now I'm like kind of calm, like collected compared to 5 years ago. I think I always kind of worry a little bit too much, and I think trust the process, kind of, just like let it happen. Don't say no to something that you want to do because you're scared, I guess. Like, don't let fear, like, I'm forgetting the English word, but don't let fear
get in the way of the opportunities.
Yeah, like rule your life, or like,
sure.
Because even like stuff like this, just doing this podcast, like me as a person with a lot of like social anxiety from the start. I'm an introvert that's not shy necessarily, but I still have this social anxiety. Like even this, like talking to you, like I know I'm comfortable with you from before, but I still like, should I really do this? Like it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Like, so I think that like, just go for it. Like don't be scared, please.
Hopefully you haven't been too scared throughout the conversation.
This has been amazing.
Yeah. Cool.
No, for sure.
The last thing, I guess, is one, just to recap, Small Village. People can find you, of course, Spotify. Where else can people sort of find you, your work, Hakeem's work?
Yeah, Spotify would be where the music is at. I mean, every other streaming platform you can find it. And for my socials, like Instagram is definitely the main place that I'm at. So if you want to like contact, it's at Hellgren Elias.
So if someone's loving your hip hop beats or whatever work that you're doing,
send a message. Like, go ahead. Instagram is that like the place where I definitely respond the best, and I'm most active.
And then for you, is there any hope, I guess, that you have for your project of Small Village? And this is not exactly the smallest question, I guess, but people try and attempt to have some version of an impact with the work that they do, whether that be, and it changes over time, right? Like the context of what you do right now will be different in 5 years, just like it was different 5 years ago.
For sure.
But currently right now with the work that you're doing, I guess maybe some of the messages you're putting out, is there sort of a final takeaway about what it is that you're trying to do or give back to the world that I guess sort of colours or informs what you do, some sort of message takeaway that you're, I guess, interested in or trying to express through your work?
Yeah, I think for me as a producer, because I rarely write in the lyrics, it's kind of hard getting like a message across that's very clear. But I think mainly what I try to do is just I don't know, I want people to listen to my music and feel like they can make whatever they want to make. Like, it doesn't matter if the same artist or producer has like one rock song and one R&B song and one acoustic singer songwriter and one folk song. Like, just do whatever you want and try to be real. Like, I really just want to I want people to feel something, I guess. It doesn't really have to be whatever I felt, but I want them to hear music that's not made for anyone else than me. And that's like, because when I listen to music, the music I love is, as I said, like early on in this podcast, like I recognize if it's real often, and that's why I like it. And I think really you can recognize that even if it's no words. Like, even how I play my guitar, how I feel when I hear other, like, it's like a French artist, Vrael, I don't know if I pronounce it correctly, I'm probably butchering it, but like his guitar playing, like, it's just guitar sounds. And like another, like Flawed Mangoes, like a guitarist, like put some instrumentals with just his like guitar loops, but you can like hear like they just made this because they love it. Like, there's no thought about I want to become viral or I want to make this type of song because it's gonna get big. Like, no, it's just them putting their feelings and emotions into this song and releasing it to us. Like, even unedited songs I love. Like, shitty mixes of songs is great because like you're like, well, they probably didn't know shit about this, but they wanted to release this song. So like, yeah, respect for real. So yeah, I don't know.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Sounds to me like Small Village is trying to help us live with our authentic selves, or at least live in an authentic world. So very much look forward to the rest of the album that's going to come out. Is the album named, is it Untitled Soul Project? Or that's the name of the album that will be?
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, look forward to that coming up next, and appreciate the time that you've had to chat with us today. Thanks, Elias.
Thank you. And give big shout out to Hakeem Martin as well.
Sorry, yep.
At Real Hakeem Martin on Instagram.
Cool beans. Hakeem, maybe next time.
Maybe next time.
See you guys. See you later.